was about to relax before the podcast tonight, but then I saw this comment and I said, okay, I'm going to do one more video. And the comment says the only thing I'm still struggling with is why their choice was the deciding factor for all humanity. I may just not be understanding.
First of all, you just gotta love the piano in the background, right? There's no way a Christian could deliver a message from the Holy Spirit without using some sort of emotional manipulation. But let's continue. This commenter doesn't understand why Adam and Eve's sins would have been the deciding factor for the rest of all of humanity. Let's hear his deep theological response to this.
That sometimes I can come off a little rough, but I want to let you and everyone that struggles with understanding know that this is from love. This is Big Brother talking to you right now. Think about it that way. Who cares? My 6-year-old son on this couch right now would never be able to fully understand a lot of the things that I do and I provide for him. But I've never set a condition saying you must understand what I do in order to receive my love.
So far we got, if you don't understand why you're being blamed for something someone else did, who cares? Then we have this genius comparison between God and like a 6-year-old child, as if it's not important for us to explain and teach our children why we're making the decisions we're making. Like when you punish your child, you don't need to explain to them why they're in trouble, how to get better, or why you're punishing them in the way you are. Who cares? You don't have to. You're just a kid. They can do whatever they want. Sounds like he's prepping the battlefield for a narcissistic enema.
But I've never set a condition saying you must understand what I do in order to receive my love. Likewise, God has never said you must understand. In fact, he never ever mentions that you need to understand. He tells you to trust him.
I don't know if you guys noticed the little switcherooski that just happened here, but we started off talking about why we're being punished for the sins of someone else, and then he switched it around immediately to being about God loving you without understanding. We literally went from talking about punishing to talking about loving, which I could see how you would conflate those two, being a Christian and all. But yeah, if God was just pouring his love on us and we didn't understand why we were being blessed and why we were loved so much, I don't think he would be asking the question he asked. We're asking the question we're asking because God is punishing and holding us accountable for something we didn't do, and that's what we don't understand. When you love punish your kid, do you not try and help them understand why? Actually, you probably don't.
The problem is that we live in this age where we feel like we have to know everything. We have to understand everything. But just like my 6-year-old would never be able to understand everything that I do, you will never understand everything about God.
This is such a dumb comparison. Listen, if you do your job really well as a parent, then at some point your 6-year-old will understand everything about you. They will understand your decision making. They will grow up and you will reveal to them why you're making the decisions you're making. If you just keep punishing them or loving them and never explaining to them why things are the way they are, then they will just become yet another victim of narcissistic abuse who becomes a doormat, used to being walked all over and punished without any reason or rationale. Likewise, if God was a good parent, a good father, then he would do everything in his power to help us understand him so that we can grow up and be more like him instead of confused by his love punishment.
And I don't mean to be too blunt, but I see people all the time that talk about struggling to understand this one thing, and that's what's holding me back. And it's like, really? Is that what's holding you back? Or are you using that as a scapegoat? Do you really believe that you could fully fathom?
Oh yes, here's the part where, because they can't answer your question, they accuse you of trying to understand God as an excuse for not following God. Yeah, understanding your leaders in order to follow them, that's like not necessary at all, right? You can just have leaders that lead you straight into the pits of hell. No reason to understand why. You're questioning God? You just want an excuse to sin, huh? It's not like it's important to question things before you invest in them.
If you could fully fathom everything that God has ever done, would he be a God worth worshiping? His ways are above ours.
If you could fully fathom all the decisions that your parents have made for you in the past, would they be parents worth respecting? Yeah. If you could fully fathom the decisions that your great and powerful and trustworthy leaders were making for you, would they still be worth following? Yeah. Listen, if you got a God or a leader or a parent or anyone in your life who doesn't think it's important to take the time to train you up and help you understand the decisions they make and why they make them so that you can also think with more clarity and make good decisions yourself, if they think that it's better to just tell you, you don't need to understand, it's not important, you could never understand, run away. This is exactly how con jobs are perpetrated, by telling you that it's way above your head, you could never understand, just trust the professionals, trust us. P.S. It's also how abusive, narcissistic relationships are started. All this music and Big Brother talk, basically just to say that you don't need to understand. Well, if you don't need to understand, why read the Bible at all? If you don't need to understand, well then maybe you should follow our Democratic president. If you don't need to understand, then maybe you should leave the gay community alone. Last but not least, and probably the most important point, if you don't need to understand, then what is the point of apologetics or evangelism or Bible study or sermons or reading the Bible or theology degrees or